They scanned our ship, and their fleet fell into panic aboard the Valtheric flagship Sovereign's Wrath. Fleet Commander Vex Thor stared at his display screen with all four of his eyes wide open. His chitinous hands trembled slightly as he scrolled through the scan data again and again, hoping he had misread something. He had not. "Science Officer Kelrim," he said, his voice tight with tension. "Verify these readings. Tell me our scanners malfunctioned." The science officer, a smaller Valtheric with pale blue chitin, worked at his console with frantic energy. After several minutes, he turned to face the commander. "Sir, I have verified the data 3 times. The scanners functioned perfectly. The readings are accurate." Vex Thor felt something he had not experienced in his 30 years of military service. Fear. Real, cold fear that made his blood run slow. He looked at the small human vessel on his view screen, so tiny compared to his fleet, and he understood that he had made a terrible mistake. "Explain it to me again," he said quietly. "Explain what we are looking at." Kelrim pulled up the data on the main screen so the entire bridge crew could see. The human vessel's power core operates on controlled fusion, but not like our fusion technology. Their reactor maintains plasma at temperatures of 15 million degrees. Our best reactors can barely reach 8 million, and the pressure containment system uses principles we do not fully understand. "Could our engineers build something similar?" Vex Thor asked. "Not with our current technology. Perhaps in another 200 years of development? Perhaps never." Vex Thor felt his stomach twist. "Continue." "The hull material is a titanium tungsten composite with carbon nanofiber reinforcement. To produce such materials requires industrial processes far beyond our capability. The strength-to-weight ratio exceeds our best military-grade armor by a factor of 6. Another officer spoke up, her voice shaking. "Commander, I analyzed their weapon systems. They are currently powered down. But the energy signatures suggest they are kinetic impactors combined with directed energy arrays. Based on the power conduits and focusing chambers, each weapon could deliver yields in the high gigaton range." Silence fell over the bridge. A high gigaton weapon could destroy a small moon. The Sovereign's Wrath, the pride of the Valtheric fleet, carried antimatter torpedoes that delivered yields in the low megaton range. The difference was not small. It was enormous. It was the difference between a firecracker and a volcanic eruption. "What type of vessel is this?" Vex Thor asked. "Their flagship? Their most powerful warship?" Kelrim looked down at his console, and when he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "According to their own classification systems, which we accessed during the scan, it is designated as a patrol frigate. A Class 3 vessel, one of their smallest military ships," the bridge crew gasped. Several officers made gestures of religious protection, ancient movements from their homeworld meant to ward off evil spirits. "A patrol ship," Vex Thor repeated, not quite believing it. "Their smallest warship has technology that surpasses our finest vessels." "There is more, Commander," Kelrim said. "The crew data. We scanned their biological signatures. The gravity on their home planet is 1.8 times standard. Their muscle density and bone structure reflect adaptation to high gravity. They are physically much stronger than us, and their brain structure suggests high-level problem-solving and pack-hunting social behavior." Vex Thor understood the implications immediately. Humans came from a high-gravity world, which meant their entire civilization had developed under harsher conditions. Their technology had to be more robust, their engineering more sophisticated just to function in their home environment. And pack hunters meant they were naturally good at cooperation and strategy. "What about their fleet?" he asked. "How many ships do they have?" The data we captured included reference files. The Human Federation controls 31 star systems. Their fleet consists of approximately 18,000 vessels of various classes. 18,000. The Valtheric Dominion, which controlled 47 systems, had a fleet of 4,000 ships. And if this tiny patrol vessel was any indication, every single human ship would outclass its Valtheric equivalent. Vex Thor made a decision. "Helm, move the fleet into defensive formation. All ships maintain maximum distance from the human vessel. Weapons stay charged, but do not target them. I repeat, do not target the human ship." His weapons officer looked confused. "Sir, should we not destroy them before they can report back to their government?" "With what?" Vex Thor snapped. "Our weapons might not even penetrate their shields, assuming they have shields. And if we did somehow manage to destroy them, we would be declaring war on a civilization that could burn our entire empire to ash. Is that what you want?" The weapons officer went silent. Vexthor opened a channel to all ships in the fleet. All commanders, this is Fleet Commander Vexthor. The situation has changed. The human vessel is not what we thought. Stand down from attack posture. Maintain defensive positions. Do not under any circumstances fire unless I give direct authorization. Anyone who disobeys this order will be executed immediately. He closed the channel and turned back to his science officer. Kelrim, I need you to analyze something else. Look at the crew roster we captured. What is the experience level of their personnel? Kelrim worked for a moment. The captain has 15 years of service. The tactical officer has only 3 years. Most of the crew are recent academy graduates. The ship's logs indicate this is primarily a training vessel for junior officers. Of course it was. Of course the ship that had accidentally terrified his entire fleet was crewed by students and instructors. The humans probably sent their newest officers out here precisely because nothing dangerous ever happened in this sector. Until today. Vexthor thought about his options. He could retreat immediately and report this to the High Council. But that would make him look like a coward, running from a single small ship. He could continue with his original plan and demand the humans surrender. But that seemed foolish now. Or he could try something different. He could try talking to them. Open a communication channel to the human vessel, he ordered, and make sure our translation systems are working properly. I want no misunderstandings. Doyen appeared on the screen. The human looked young, with smooth skin and dark eyes that showed intelligence and curiosity. Behind him, Vexthor could see other humans moving around their bridge. They all looked calm, professional, not at all worried about facing a fleet of 300 warships, because they had no reason to worry. They probably knew exactly how powerful their ship was. They had grown up with this technology. To them, it was normal. This is Fleet Commander Vexthor of the Valtheric Dominion, he said, making sure his tone was respectful now, not threatening. I apologize for our aggressive approach. We were not aware of your civilization's capabilities. I request immediate negotiations with your captain to discuss peaceful relations between our peoples. There was a pause as the translation software worked. Then the young human spoke. Please stand by, Commander. I will inform Captain Kim of your request. The channel switched to a waiting screen. Vexthor sat back in his command chair, his heart's beating fast. He had been in space combat before. He had led fleets in battle against other empires. He had faced enemies and won, but he had never encountered anything like this. A species so advanced that their training ships outclassed his best warships. A civilization that had spread across 31 systems in what must have been a very short time. Given the age of their technology, and the truly terrifying part was that the humans probably did not even realize how powerful they were. To them, this was just a normal patrol ship, old and outdated, scheduled for retirement soon. If this was their outdated technology, what did their modern warships look like? Vexthor did not want to find out through combat. He very much wanted to make sure the Valtheric Dominion and the Human Federation became friends, because the alternative was too horrible to consider. The channel reopened. This time a human female appeared on the screen. She had short dark hair and steady eyes that evaluated him carefully. I am Captain Jiwon Kim of the HSS Dauntless. I understand you wish to negotiate? Yes, Captain, Vexthor said, keeping his voice steady. I believe we started our first contact badly. I would like to correct that mistake if you are willing to talk. The human captain studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. I am willing to talk, Commander. But first I need to understand something. Your fleet was threatening us with destruction just minutes ago. What changed? Vexthor considered lying. But something told him that lying to these humans would be the worst possible choice. We scanned your ship, Captain. We learned things that changed our perspective. We learned that we were wrong about you. Captain Kim's expression remained neutral. I see, then yes, Commander Vexthor, let us talk. They scanned our ship, and their fleet fell into panic. Captain Jiwon Kim sat in her ready room, a small office just off the main bridge. Across from her, displayed on a large screen, Fleet Commander Vexthor appeared uncomfortable despite being thousands of kilometers away on his own ship. The Valtheric commander shifted in his seat, his alien features hard for Jiwon to read, but his body language spoke clearly enough. He was nervous. Let me understand this correctly, Jiwon said, keeping her voice calm and professional. You entered our space planning to conquer us, scanned our ship, and then changed your mind because of what you found. What exactly did you find that changed your perspective so dramatically? Vexthor's chitinous fingers tapped against his armrest. Captain Kim, in the past 1,000 years, the Valtheric Dominion has encountered 17 spacefaring species. All of them submitted to us because our technology was superior. We assumed you would be the same. We were wrong. You thought we were primitive, G1 said. It was not a question. Yes, we thought you were primitive. Then we scanned your ship. Vexthor pulled up data on a secondary screen. Your fusion reactor operates at temperatures and pressures we cannot achieve. Your hull materials require industrial processes we do not have. Your weapons, even powered down, showed energy signatures far beyond anything in our arsenal. And according to your own classification systems, this is one of your smallest and oldest military vessels. Jiwan felt a strange disconnect. To her, the Dauntless was just a ship, an old one. She had served on newer vessels that made the Dauntless look ancient, but to this alien commander, her old patrol frigate was a technological marvel. Commander, she said carefully, I think we need to establish some basic facts about our civilizations. Perhaps that will help both of us understand this situation better. I would appreciate that, Captain. Jiwan gestured to someone off-screen. Dr. Seo Khan entered the ready room and took a seat beside her. The medical officer carried a data pad and looked fascinated rather than frightened. This is Dr. Seo Khan, our chief medical officer and xenobiology expert. He has been analyzing the data we received from your scan of us. Perhaps we can exchange information? Of course, Vexthor said, looking relieved that they were talking instead of shooting. Dr. Seok spoke first. Commander, your people are carbon-based life forms similar to us in basic biology. Your homeworld has a gravity of approximately 0.6 Earth standard, and your atmosphere is nitrogen-oxygen, though with lower oxygen content than Earth. Is this correct? Yes, Vexthor confirmed. How is this relevant? Because it explains a great deal, Dr. Seok said. Earth, our homeworld, has gravity almost twice what your people evolved in. Our atmosphere has 21% oxygen, which is quite high. These factors shaped our evolution and our technology. Jiwan took over. Earth is what we call a high-gravity world. Life there evolved to be strong and resilient just to survive. Our technology had to be robust because our environment was harsh. We did not develop advanced fusion reactors because we were geniuses. We developed them because we needed powerful energy sources and we had the gravity and resources to build the heavy industrial infrastructure required. Vexthor listened carefully. You are saying your technology is advanced not because you are superior, but because your homeworld forced you to develop it? Exactly, Dr. Seok said. Natural selection works on civilizations as well as individuals. Earth is a dangerous planet. Earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, extreme temperature variations, aggressive wildlife. Humans evolved as persistence hunters who could track prey for days. We learned to cooperate in groups, to solve problems, to adapt to changing conditions. Our technology reflects our environment. Lieutenant Hyun Park joined the conversation from the bridge, his face appearing on a smaller screen. Captain, permission to share comparative data with the Valtheric commander. Granted. Hyun pulled up technical specifications. Commander Vexthor, our patrol frigate uses quantum slipstream drives for faster-than-light travel. We can cross 6 light-years in approximately 18 minutes. What is your maximum FTL speed? Vexthor looked at his science officer, who provided the answer. Our fastest vessels can reach 0.3 light speed using conventional drives. We do not have true faster-than-light capability. Travel between systems takes weeks or months. The humans exchanged glances. Hyun continued. Our weapons use kinetic impactors accelerated to significant fractions of light speed, combined with directed energy systems. What weapons do you use? Plasma cannons and antimatter torpedoes, Vexthor said. Our most powerful weapons deliver yields of approximately 5 megatons. There was an awkward silence. Hyun did not want to say it, but the comparison was stark. The Dauntless, old as it was, carried weapons that could deliver yields thousands of times more powerful. And it could cross interstellar distances in minutes, while Valtheric ships took months. Jiwan decided to redirect the conversation. Commander, you said you have conquered 47 systems. The Human Federation controls 31 systems, but we have not conquered any of them. We colonized them or formed alliances with species already there. Why did your people choose conquest? Vexthor was quiet for a moment. Because we could. Because every species we met was weaker than us. Because conquest is how empires grow strong. That is one way, Ji-won acknowledged. But we found another way. We met other spacefaring species too. The first contact was difficult. We did not speak the same languages. We did not understand each other's cultures, but we learned to cooperate. We traded technology and knowledge. We formed alliances. Some species joined our federation voluntarily because they saw benefit in unity. You are saying you became powerful through cooperation instead of conquest, Vexthor said slowly. Yes. And because we did not waste resources fighting wars with our neighbors, we could invest more in technology, exploration, and development. Peace is more efficient than war. Engineer Minji Choi spoke up from her station. Commander, I have a question if I may. How long has your civilization been spacefaring? Over 2,000 years, Vexthor said with some pride. Humanity has been spacefaring for 180 years, Minji said. In less than 2 centuries, we went from our first orbital flight to controlling 31 systems with 18,000 ships. How is that possible? Because we learned fast. We adapted. We cooperated with other species who taught us things we did not know. And we pushed our technology hard because we had to. Space is dangerous, and Earth taught us to respect danger. Ensign Doyen spoke up from the communication station, his young voice excited. Commander Vexthor, there is something I wanted to mention. The Dauntless is scheduled for decommissioning next year. We are going to retire this ship because it is outdated. Our modern vessels are much more advanced. Ji-won winced internally. That was perhaps not the most diplomatic thing to share, but the damage was done. On the screen, Vexthor had gone very still. This ship is being retired because it is outdated, he repeated quietly. Yes, Doyen said, not realizing the impact of his words. The new destroyer-class ships have improved slipstream drives, better weapon systems, and advanced shield technology. The Dauntless is from an older generation. Vexthor looked at something off-screen, probably consulting with his officers. When he turned back, his expression was difficult to read, but Ji-won thought she detected something like despair. Captain Kim, the Valtheric commander said carefully, May I ask what your modern warships look like? Ji-won considered refusing. But if they were going to establish honest relations, perhaps honesty was the best approach. She pulled up a standard fleet roster and shared her screen. Images of sleek destroyers, massive cruisers, and enormous carriers appeared. These are our current generation vessels, she said simply. The carrier-class ships can hold over 500 small craft and have crew complements of 8,000. The battleship-class vessels are our heaviest hitters, designed for direct combat if necessary. Vexthor stared at the images. His science officer said something in their own language, too fast for the translators to catch. The Valtheric commander nodded slowly. Captain Kim, I must be direct with you. My government sent this fleet to claim new territory. We assumed any species we encountered would submit or be conquered. But I see now that we cannot conquer you. We cannot even fight you. If we tried, you would destroy our entire fleet in minutes. Probably, Ji-won admitted. There was no point in false modesty. So I must ask you, what are your intentions toward the Valtheric Dominion? Will you conquer us? Will you destroy us for threatening you? Ji-won leaned forward. Commander, humanity learned something important in our history. We learned it through terrible wars on our homeworld that cost millions of lives. We learned that strength without wisdom is just violence. We learned that the strongest survive not by destroying everyone else but by building alliances and cooperation. She paused, making sure he understood. We do not want to conquer you. We do not want to destroy you. We want to establish peaceful relations, trade agreements, cultural exchanges, perhaps even alliance, because every civilization has value. Every species has something unique to offer. The universe is big enough for all of us. They scanned our ship, and their fleet fell into panic. 3 weeks had passed since the encounter between the Dauntless and the Valtheric fleet. Captain Ji-won Kim had sent her detailed report to Federation Command, and the response had been swift. The Federation was sending a proper diplomatic mission, led by Ambassador Soojin Park, who happened to be Ji-won's older sister. Soojin had 20 years of experience in alien relations and was one of humanity's best diplomats. But the Federation was also sending a military escort, just in case. The HSS Indomitable, a modern destroyer, would accompany the diplomatic mission along with a small fleet of support vessels. Admiral Taewon Kang, a respected officer with a reputation for level-headed decision-making, would command the escort. The Federation wanted to extend a hand of friendship, but they were not naive. First contact situations could go wrong in many ways. Meanwhile, on the Valtheric homeworld, Fleet Commander Vexthor stood before the High Council, presenting his report. The council chamber was a vast dome made of crystalline materials that caught and reflected light in beautiful patterns. 12 council members sat in elevated seats, looking down at him with expressions ranging from shock to disbelief. "You are telling us," Council Speaker Rindal said slowly, "that a single human patrol ship could have destroyed your entire fleet?" "Yes, Council Speaker," Vexthor confirmed. "Their technology surpasses ours by at least 2 centuries of development, perhaps more." Another council member, a military hardliner named Kreshtok, slammed his hand on his desk. "This is unacceptable. We should mobilize our full military might. We should strike at humanity before they become a threat." "They are already a threat," Vexthor said firmly, "and striking at them would be suicide. They have 18,000 vessels. Each one is more advanced than our best ships. If we attack them, the Valtheric Dominion will cease to exist." Rindal raised a hand for silence. "What do you recommend, Fleet Commander?" "Alliance," Vexthor said immediately. "Immediate diplomatic outreach. Trade agreements. Technology exchanges if they are willing. The humans do not seem interested in conquest. They genuinely want peaceful relations. We should accept their offer." "And what if other empires learn about humanity?" another council member asked. "What if the Teshkar hegemony finds out?" That question made everyone uncomfortable. The Teshkar hegemony was the regional superpower, a militaristic empire that had bullied the Valtheric Dominion for decades. The Teshkar had more ships, better technology, and a culture that glorified warfare. If the Teshkar learn about humanity, they will likely react poorly, Vexthor admitted. But keeping the secret is impossible. Too many of my crew witnessed the encounter. Information will spread. Then we must make our choice quickly, Rindal said. I call for a vote. Should the Valtheric Dominion pursue alliance with the Human Federation? The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. 8 council members voted for alliance. Only 3 voted against. 1 abstained. Rindal stood. Then it is decided. We will send our own diplomatic mission to meet with the humans. May the ancestors guide us toward wisdom. But as Vexthor had predicted, information about humanity did not stay secret for long. Within a week, intelligence about the encounter had reached the Teshkar hegemony. And the Teshkar War hierarch, a large and aggressive leader named Kolshan, did not react with wisdom. He reacted with anger and disbelief. The Valtherics are lying, Kolshan announced to his war council. They invented this story about powerful humans to scare us. They want us to think they have found a strong ally, so we will stop demanding tribute from them. His chief military advisor, War Commander Thexnor, was not so sure. My hierarch, the intelligence report seemed genuine. Multiple sources confirm the same story. Then the Valtherics have convinced multiple sources to lie, Kolshan said dismissively. No species develops advanced technology in only 180 years. It is impossible. The Valtherics are playing games with us. What if they are not lying? Thexnor asked carefully. Kolshan's eyes narrowed. Then we need to demonstrate reality to these humans. They cannot be as powerful as the reports claim. And even if they have some advanced technology, they are still newcomers to this region. They need to understand how things work here. They need to understand that the Teshkar hegemony is the dominant power. You want to send a fleet into human space? Thexnor asked. Yes. Take 150 ships. Find a human outpost or patrol vessel. Make demands. If they submit, good. If they resist, destroy them. We will show the Valtherics that their new friends are not as impressive as they claim. Thexnor had doubts, but he was a soldier. He followed orders. As you command, my hierarch. 2 weeks later, War Commander Thexnor led a Teshkar battle fleet into human space. His ships were more advanced than Valtheric vessels. The Teshkar used antimatter weapons and experimental energy shields. They were confident in their superiority. They jumped into a system near the edge of Federation space and immediately detected a small station orbiting a gas giant. The station was tiny, a simple listening post with a crew of maybe 30 people. Perfect for making a statement. Thexnor opened a communication channel to the station. This is War Commander Thexnor of the Teshkar hegemony. Your presence in this system is no longer permitted. Surrender your station immediately or we will destroy it. The response came quickly. A human female appeared on his screen wearing a simple uniform. She looked young, maybe in her 30s, with tied-back hair and calm eyes. The nameplate on her uniform read, Station Chief Borisong. War Commander Thexnor, she said politely. You have entered Human Federation space without authorization. I must ask you to leave immediately. If you do not comply, we will consider this an act of aggression. Thexnor laughed. You are in no position to make demands. We have 150 warships. You have a small station with no weapons. Surrender now or die. Station Chief Borisong did not look frightened. She looked almost amused. I see. Well, I have forwarded your demand to our defense fleet. They are currently 6.7 light-years away. Estimated arrival time is 18 minutes. I recommend you reconsider your approach before they get here. Thexnor stopped laughing. No ship can cross 6.7 light-years in 18 minutes. You are lying. I am not lying, Commander. But if you do not believe me, feel free to wait and see. I will be here. Will you? Thexnor closed the channel and turned to his science officer. She is bluffing. Scan the area. There are no ships nearby. The science officer worked for a moment. Confirmed, Commander. No vessels within sensor range except our own fleet. Good. Charge weapons. We will destroy the station as a demonstration of Teshkar power. But even as his weapons charged, Thexnor felt a small doubt. The human had seemed very confident. Too confident for someone facing impossible odds. 15 minutes passed. Thexnor was about to give the order to fire when his sensor officer shouted, Commander! Multiple slipstream signatures detected. Ships are emerging from FTL. On his view screen, space began to ripple. And then they appeared. Not one ship. Not 10 ships. 45 human vessels materialized in perfect formation around the Teshkar fleet. They moved with precision and discipline, each ship taking a specific position as if they had practiced this maneuver 1,000 times. At the center of the human formation was a ship that made Thexnor's blood run cold. It was sleek and deadly, bristling with weapons and armored with materials that reflected his sensors in strange ways. The power signature from that vessel exceeded anything in his fleet. It exceeded it by an enormous margin. A communication channel opened. A human male appeared on the screen, older than the station chief, wearing a formal military uniform with many medals. His expression was calm but firm. I am Admiral Taewon Kang of the Human Federation Defense Fleet. You have violated our territorial space and threatened our personnel. However, I believe this situation stems from misunderstanding rather than genuine hostility. I am offering you one chance to withdraw peacefully. I strongly suggest you take it. Thexnor looked at his tactical display. His fleet was completely surrounded. The human ships had positioned themselves with mathematical precision. Every Teshkar vessel was covered by multiple targeting solutions. If fighting started, his fleet would be destroyed in seconds. But War Hierarch Kolshan had given him orders. Show strength. Make demands. Do not back down. Pride made Thexnor foolish. We do not withdraw from inferior species. Your threats are meaningless. We are the Teshkar hegemony. We have conquered systems before your civilization existed. Admiral Kang sighed. It was a very human sound, conveying disappointment and resignation. I was afraid you would say that. Very well, Commander. Let me show you what you are facing. Commander Yunanam, please provide our guests with a demonstration. On one of the human ships, something activated, a weapon system charged with power that made Thexnor's sensors scream warnings. Then it fired. The target was an asteroid 200,000 kilometers away, a small rock floating in the void. The human weapon, a kinetic projectile accelerated to impossible speeds, covered the distance in seconds. When it hit, the asteroid did not explode. It simply ceased to exist, converted instantly to plasma and scattered particles. They scanned our ship, and their fleet fell into panic, Captain. Jiwon Kim stood on the bridge of the HSS Dauntless, watching the endless field of asteroids drift past their view screen. She had been a captain for 7 years now, and this patrol route had become as familiar to her as the streets of her childhood neighborhood back on Earth. The Dauntless was an old ship, nearly 40 years in service, and it creaked and hummed in ways that newer vessels never did. But Jiwon loved this ship. It had character. Anything interesting out there, Hyun? She asked her tactical officer. Lieutenant Hyun Park glanced up from his console and smiled. Just rocks, Captain. Very exciting rocks. One of them is almost 12 meters wide. The bridge crew chuckled. It was their third week on patrol and everyone was getting a bit bored. The Kepler frontier was one of the quietest sectors in human space. Nothing ever happened here. That was exactly why patrol ships like the Dauntless were assigned to watch it. Ji-won walked over to the engineering station where Minji Choi was running diagnostics on the propulsion system. "How are we looking, Minji?" The engineer frowned at her screen. "The port fusion reactor is running a bit hot again. Nothing dangerous, but when we get back to station, we should probably replace the cooling system. This old girl is showing her age. Aren't we all?" Ji-won said with a smile. She was only 38, but 7 years of command made her feel older sometimes. The Dauntless carried a crew of 180 people, most of them young officers fresh from the academy. Training missions and border patrols were where they learned their trade before moving on to bigger. Newer ships Ensign Doyen Lee, the communications officer, was teaching himself to read alien languages in his spare time. He was barely 23, eager and curious about everything. Dr. Seo Khan, the ship's medical officer, was probably in his office reading research papers about xenobiology. The Dauntless was a good ship with a good crew, even if their missions were usually boring. "Captain," Hyun said suddenly, his voice changing tone, "I'm picking up something on long-range sensors." Ji-won turned immediately. Hyun's relaxed posture had shifted. He was leaning forward, studying his tactical display with concentration. "What is it?" "Unknown contacts. Multiple vessels. They just appeared at the edge of sensor range." His fingers moved quickly across his console. I'm counting over 300 ships." The bridge went silent. 300 ships was not a patrol. It was not a merchant convoy. It was a fleet. "A massive fleet. Origin?" Ji-won asked, moving to stand behind Hyun's station. "Unknown. They're not broadcasting any identification signals. Ship designs don't match anything in our database." Hyun pulled up visual data on the main screen. The image showed vessels of strange architecture, all sharp angles and crystalline structures. "Captain, the largest one is enormous. It's at least 3 times the size of our biggest carriers." Ji-won felt her pulse quicken, but she kept her voice calm. "Battle stations. All crew to posts." Doyun tried to establish communication. "Minji, I want engines ready to jump to slipstream on my command." Alarms blared softly through the ship as the crew rushed to their positions. The Dauntless might be old, but her crew was well trained. Within 90 seconds, every station reported ready. "The fleet is changing course," Hyun reported. "They're heading directly toward us. Estimate contact in 20 minutes at their current speed." Ji-won sat in her captain's chair, thinking quickly. The Dauntless was a patrol frigate, lightly armed compared to real warships. If this unknown fleet was hostile, their best option was to run and warn the rest of the Federation. But first they needed to know who these newcomers were. "Any response to our hails, Doyen?" The young ensign shook his head. "Nothing yet, Captain. I'm broadcasting on all standard frequencies in every known language protocol." Dr. Seo Khan arrived on the bridge looking concerned. "I heard the alert." "What's happening?" "We have company," Ji-won said simply. "Unknown fleet, 300-plus vessels. We're trying to establish contact." The doctor moved to an auxiliary station and pulled up the sensor data. His eyes widened. "Those energy signatures are strange. Their power generation seems less efficient than ours, but those ships are huge." Minutes ticked by. The alien fleet drew closer. Ji-won could see them more clearly now on the view screen. The ships moved in perfect formation, disciplined and organized. This was a military force, no question about it. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission," Doyen announced. "It's using a basic mathematical language protocol. Our computers are translating now." "Put it through." A harsh, clicking voice filled the bridge. The translation software rendered it into flat, emotionless words. "Unknown vessel. You have entered space claimed by the Valtheric Dominion. Your ship will stop all movement. You will submit to immediate inspection and surrender. Resistance will result in destruction. You have 2 minutes to comply." Ji-won took a deep breath. So much for friendly first contact. "Doyen, open a channel." "Let's try diplomacy." She stood, straightening her uniform. "This is Captain Ji-won Kim of the Human Federation ship Dauntless. We are on a peaceful patrol mission in Federation space. This sector is claimed by the Human Federation under galactic maritime law. We would be happy to establish diplomatic relations with the Valtheric Dominion, but we cannot surrender our vessel. Perhaps we could arrange a proper meeting between our governments?" There was a pause. Then the clicking voice returned, sounding almost amused. "Your claim is irrelevant. Your vessel is primitive and weak. The Valtheric Dominion has conquered 47 star systems. You will submit or you will be destroyed. This is your final warning. Hyun looked at Ji-won with concern. Captain, their weapons are charging. Multiple vessels are targeting us. How long until we can jump to slipstream? Ji-won asked Minji. 30 seconds. The engines need to build charge. Do it. So-yun, send an emergency message to Fleet Command. Tell them we've made contact with a hostile alien force. Ji-won hated running, but the Dauntless was one small ship against an entire fleet. Her duty was to get this information back to the Federation. Before Minji could engage the slipstream drive, something changed. The alien flagship, the enormous crystalline vessel at the center of their formation, released a pulse of energy. It washed over the Dauntless like a wave. What was that? Ji-won demanded. Hyun checked his console. Some kind of scanning beam. Very powerful. They just ran a deep analysis of our entire ship. Everything from our hull composition to our power systems to our crew. Can we still jump? Yes, Captain. Engines ready. Wait, Dr. Seok said, staring at his screen. Something's happening. Look at the alien fleet. Ji-won turned to the view screen. The alien vessels were changing formation, but instead of attacking, they were spreading out, moving away from the Dauntless. Ships that had been targeting them were now pointing their weapons in different directions, as if defending against some unseen threat. I'm picking up massive communication traffic between their ships, Doyen reported. Whatever that scan told them, they're not happy about it. Hyun pulled up the tactical display. Captain, their weapons are still charged, but none of them are aimed at us anymore. They're forming a defensive perimeter. They're acting like they're afraid of something. Afraid of what? Ji-won asked. We're one small patrol ship. They have 300 warships. I don't know, Captain. But something about that scan changed everything. They're terrified. Ji-won looked at her crew. None of them understood what was happening. The Dauntless hung in space, engines ready to flee, while an entire alien fleet that had threatened to destroy them now cowered in defensive formation. What had their scan revealed? What could possibly make a fleet of 300 warships panic at the sight of one old human patrol frigate? The questions hung in the air as the two forces faced each other across the void of space, neither moving, both waiting to see what would happen next. They scanned our ship, and their fleet fell into panic. War Commander. Thexnor stared at the cracked moon on his view screen and felt something he had rarely experienced in his military career. True, absolute fear. His hands trembled as he gripped his command chair. Around him, his bridge crew sat frozen, waiting for orders that he did not know how to give. Admiral Taewon Kang waited patiently for an answer, his image on the communication screen calm and steady. Finally, Thexnor found his voice. Why do you not destroy us? The human admiral leaned forward slightly. Because strength without wisdom is just violence. Because we did not come to the stars to dominate others. We came to explore and connect. Because every species in this galaxy, including yours, has something valuable to offer. And because today, right now, you are learning an important lesson. He paused, letting his words sink in across the void of space. Humanity could be your greatest threat or your greatest ally. That choice belongs to you, not us. Another human appeared on a second screen. This one was a woman wearing diplomatic robes rather than a military uniform. She looked kind but intelligent, her eyes showing experience and understanding. I am Ambassador Sujin Park of the Human Federation. War Commander, may I speak with you? Thexnor nodded, unable to form words yet. We understand why you came here. Ambassador Park said gently. You wanted to test us. You wanted to see if the reports about human capabilities were true or exaggerated. You were following orders from your superiors, who did not believe the intelligence they received. Is this correct? Yes, Thexnor managed to say. Then you have your answer now. The reports were accurate, perhaps even understated, but here is something else you should know. She pulled up data on her screen. Our homeworld Earth taught us harsh lessons. We evolved on a planet with high gravity, dangerous wildlife, extreme weather, and limited resources. For thousands of years we fought each other. We built weapons. We developed technology driven by competition and necessity. She paused, her expression becoming more serious. We know what we are capable of. We have fought wars on our world that killed hundreds of millions of people. We have built weapons that could sterilize entire planets. We have looked into the abyss of our own destructive potential, and we made a choice. We chose to be better than our worst instincts. We chose wisdom over strength. We chose cooperation over conquest. Admiral Kang spoke again. The strongest predator does not always survive, Commander. The most adaptable does, the one who can cooperate, innovate, and change. We are offering you the same choice we made. Evolve beyond conquest or eventually face something stronger. It is better to learn that lesson from friends than from enemies. From the bridge of the Dauntless, still nearby as part of the diplomatic mission, Captain Ji-won Kim listened to the conversation. Her ship had become something of a symbol now, the patrol frigate that had accidentally revealed humanity's power to the galaxy. She opened her own communication channel. "War Commander," she said. "My name is Captain Ji-won Kim. I was the one who first encountered the Valtheric fleet 3 weeks ago. They threatened my ship, just as you threatened our station, but they made a wise choice. They talked instead of fought. Now the Valtheric Dominion is becoming our ally. We are establishing trade agreements and cultural exchanges. We are learning from each other. That path is open to your people as well." Thexnor looked at the small patrol frigate on his sensors. That was the ship that had started all of this. The ship whose scan had revealed humanity's true capabilities to the Valtherics. That one old vessel had changed the balance of power in this entire region of space. "I do not understand," Thexnor said quietly. "You have these terrible weapons, this overwhelming power. Why develop them if you refuse to use them?" Ensign Doyen Lee, still serving on the Dauntless, spoke up from his communication station. His young voice carried across the channel. "Because we needed them, Commander. We developed them against nature, against each other, against the unknown. But we learned their true cost. The strongest weapon is not the one that destroys. It is the one you never have to fire because everyone knows you could." Lieutenant Hyun Park added his own thoughts. "In our history, the nations with the most powerful weapons were often the ones most careful about using them. Because they understood the consequences. Because they knew that using such weapons would make them no different from the enemies they opposed. Power without restraint is not strength. It is just destruction." Thexnor sat quietly, processing everything he was hearing. His entire worldview was being challenged. The Teshkar hegemony had always believed that military might was the path to greatness. That conquest and domination were how empires became strong. But here were the humans with technology that could crush any empire in this region, and they were offering friendship instead of subjugation. "What happens now?" he asked. "What do you want from us?" Admiral Kang smiled slightly. "We want you to go home, Commander. We want you to report honestly to your government about what you encountered here. We want them to understand that humanity seeks peaceful relations with all civilizations, and we hope that your leaders will be wise enough to accept that offer." "And if my government chooses war?" Thexnor asked. The Admiral's expression hardened. "Then we will defend ourselves. We will do whatever is necessary to protect our people and our allies. But we would rather not take that path. War benefits no one. It wastes resources, destroys lives, and creates hatred that lasts for generations. We learned that lesson at great cost. We would prefer that others learn it more peacefully." Ambassador Park spoke again. "The galaxy is large enough for all of us, War Commander. There is no need for conflict. Imagine what could be achieved if our civilizations worked together instead of fighting. Technology shared, knowledge exchanged, problems solved through cooperation. That is the future humanity envisions. We hope it is a future your people will choose to be part of." Thexnor made his decision. He was a soldier who followed orders, but he was not a fool. His war hierarch had been wrong. The humans were not weak. They were not primitive. They were the most dangerous species he had ever encountered, precisely because they were powerful enough to destroy but wise enough to restrain themselves. "I will report everything I have witnessed here," he said formally. "I will recommend that the Teshkar hegemony pursue diplomatic relations with the Human Federation. And I apologize for violating your space and threatening your station." "Apology accepted," Admiral Kang said. "You are free to leave whenever you wish. We will not interfere with your departure." The Teshkar fleet began to withdraw, moving slowly and carefully. As they prepared to jump to FTL, Thexnor opened one final communication to the humans. "There is something I must tell you. The Teshkar hegemony is not the only power in this region. There are others. Some may react to your existence with fear or aggression. You should be prepared." "We will be," Admiral Kang assured him. "Thank you for the warning, War Commander. Safe travels." The Teshkar fleet disappeared into FTL, leaving the human vessels alone with the small listening post. Station Chief Borisong opened a channel to Admiral Kang, her expression amused. "Well, that was exciting. Should I expect more visitors like that?" The Admiral laughed. Probably. Word is spreading about us. Every empire in this region is going to want to test us or ally with us. We are going to be very busy for the next few years. 6 months later, the situation had stabilized considerably. The Valtheric Dominion had formalized its alliance with the Human Federation. The Teshkar hegemony, after much internal debate, had requested diplomatic talks and signed a non-aggression pact. 6 other spacefaring civilizations had reached out to establish contact. The Dauntless, reprieved from decommissioning, had been assigned a new mission. The old patrol frigate would serve as Ambassador Sujin Park's personal diplomatic vessel. The ship that had accidentally triggered a galactic paradigm shift would now be a symbol of human values. Captain Jiwon Kim stood on the bridge of her ship, watching as a mixed fleet prepared to depart. Human vessels, Valtheric ships, and even 2 Teshkar cruisers formed a joint task force. Their mission was to explore uncharted space beyond known galactic borders, former enemies working together under human guidance. Captain, Minji Choi said from the engineering station. All systems ready for departure. The Valtheric and Teshkar ships have confirmed they are ready as well. Excellent, Jiwon said. She opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Captain Kim. Today we begin a new chapter in galactic history. We go into the unknown not as conquerors but as explorers, not as rivals but as allies. Whatever we find out there, we will face it together. Prepare for slipstream jump. Dr. Seok Han smiled from his station. It is remarkable, is it not? 6 months ago we were alone out here. Now we are leading a coalition of species into unexplored space. It is remarkable, Jiwon agreed. And it all started because someone scanned our ship. Ensign Doyen laughed. Next time someone scans our ship, maybe we should include a warning label. Something like human vessel, approach with respect, not fear. Lieutenant Hyun grinned. Or maybe warning, contents more powerful than they appear. The bridge crew chuckled. It felt good to laugh about something that had seemed so dangerous just months ago.